When my phone buzzed, I was already steps away from his front door. The message was simple. Don't come over. But it was too late. I was there. The house was dark. No lights, no sounds, nothing. But the door. It was slightly open, and what I saw inside changed everything. What you're about to hear happened exactly 3 months ago. My name is... well, let's call me Sarah. And the man in this story, let's call him Marcus. These aren't our real names, for reasons you'll understand very soon. This is a true story. A story that haunts me every single night. A story that almost cost me my life. And before you ask, yes, I have proof. The photos, the messages, the police reports. Everything is stored in a safe place, because Marcus is still out there, and he's looking for his next victim. This isn't just a story of horror, people. It's a warning. Trust your instincts. Pay attention to the signs, because the person you think you know might be someone completely different underneath, someone dangerous, someone deadly. Everything started 6 months and 2 days ago. I remember the exact date because it was the day my life changed completely. It was a Tuesday, September 12th, and it was raining, one of those fine rains that soaks you more than a storm. I had a job interview at 10 a.m. at a tech company downtown. I arrived early and decided to grab coffee at the cafe on the ground floor of the building. That's where I first saw Marcus. He was at the corner table, surrounded by what looked like organised chaos. Laptop open, 3 external monitors connected, stacks of papers with handwritten code, 4 empty coffee cups, and an expression of pure frustration on his face. He had dark brown hair that was slightly messy, black-framed glasses, and wore a t-shirt with a company logo I didn't recognise. He looked about 28, maybe 30. Every few minutes, he would sigh loudly and run his hands through his hair, clearly stuck on some complex technical problem. That's when our eyes met. "Sorry to bother you," he said, with a crooked smile that, I admit, melted me a little. "You don't happen to understand Python programming, do you? I've been trying to solve this bug for 6 hours, and I think my brain is fried." I laughed. "Actually, I've been working with Python for 5 years. What's the problem?" And that's how our conversation started. A 15-minute technical discussion about encryption algorithms that turned into 2 hours talking about everything. Work, family, dreams, fears, favourite movies, places we wanted to visit. Marcus was a senior software developer, specialised in digital security systems. He worked as a freelancer for several big companies, mainly American and European ones, hence the crazy hours and multiple monitors. When I realised it, it was already noon and I had missed my job interview. But strangely, I didn't care. "Let me make up for your missed interview," Marcus said, packing up his equipment. "I know an incredible Italian restaurant 2 blocks from here." I should have said no, should have left. But there was something magnetic about Marcus, an intensity in his eyes, a way of speaking that made every word seem important. We had lunch for 3 hours. He told me about his childhood in a small town, how he learned programming by himself at 14, about his parents who died in a car accident when he was 22. "I've been kind of a loner since then," he said, stirring the sauce on his plate. "Work from home, few friends, pretty simple life." He talked about his passion for digital security, how he discovered he had a talent for finding vulnerabilities in complex systems. Some companies paid very well for that kind of expertise. "It's fascinating," he said, his eyes lighting up. "It's like being a digital detective. You look for clues, follow trails, discover secrets that people think are well hidden." The way he said secrets gave me a small shiver, but at the time I thought, it was just my imagination. He asked for my number. I gave it without hesitation. That same night at 9:30 p.m, I received a message. "Sarah, it was incredible meeting you today. You saved my code and my day. Want to have dinner tomorrow?" I said yes before even thinking properly. The next few dates were like a dream. Marcus was attentive in a way I had never experienced. He remembered small details from our conversations, always arrived with flowers or chocolates, asked genuine questions about my work and dreams. We dined at different restaurants each date. He knew incredible places scattered throughout the city. We went to movies, walked in parks, visited art exhibitions, but always in public places, and always far from the area where he lived. After 6 weeks of meeting regularly, I started noticing some peculiarities in Marcus's behaviour. First oddity, he never answered calls when we were together. The phone would ring, and it rang a lot, but he always let it go to voicemail, sometimes with a tense expression on his face. Work, he would explain. Clients want 24-hour support, but I need to have limits. Second oddity, his communication schedules were very specific. Marcus never responded to messages after 9 p.m. or before 9 a.m. Never. And during the day there were periods of 2-3 hours where he would simply disappear. I work with international time zones, he justified. When it's night here, it's business hours in Asia. I need to be available. Third oddity, he always paid for everything in cash. Restaurants, movies, parking, gifts. Never card, never digital payment, always cash. And always new bills, as if he had just withdrawn from the bank. Fourth oddity, and perhaps the most important. Marcus never took me to his house. In the first few dates, this was normal. But after 2 months together, when our relationship was getting more serious, I started to find it strange. I want to see your house, I said one night after dinner. Cook for you, watch Netflix on your couch, know how you live. His expression changed instantly. Sarah, my house is complicated. Complicated how? It's very messy. I work from home, so I have equipment everywhere. Cables, computers, servers. It looks more like an office than a house. I don't mind mess. And, besides, he continued, avoiding my gaze, I'm in the middle of renovations. Everything's torn apart, no conditions to receive visitors. Always a different excuse. Always a reason to meet somewhere else. That's when I started paying attention to other strange details. Marcus had very well cared for hands. Always trimmed nails, soft skin, no scars or marks. For someone who supposedly was renovating a house, he had no signs of manual work. He also knew the city in a strange way. He knew obscure shortcuts, streets I'd never heard of, abandoned places he had discovered while walking. For someone who worked from home all the time, he knew the dark corners of the city very well, and there were his reactions to certain news on TV. Whenever something about missing persons, violent crimes, or police investigations came on, Marcus would become visibly uncomfortable. He'd quickly change the channel or suggest we leave. I don't like these things, he'd say. We have enough problems in real life. But what really caught my attention was his reaction to a movie we chose to watch one night. It was a psychological thriller about a serial killer. Common movie, nothing too disturbing. Marcus became completely absorbed, not in the normal sense, of being interested in the movie. He was studying, analysing every movement of the protagonist, every technique shown, every mistake made. This guy's an amateur, he murmured during one scene. Left too much evidence. DNA under the victim's nails, footprints in the garden. Sloppy work. How do you know so much about this? I asked. He seemed to realise what he had said. Oh, I watch a lot of CSI, documentaries about real crimes. It's interesting from a psychological point of view. But the way he spoke with that specific technical knowledge gave me chills. That night, for the first time, I started wondering who Marcus really was. The perfect boyfriend facade was starting to crack, and what I glimpsed underneath terrified me. I decided to investigate Marcus discreetly, not because I didn't trust him, or at least that's what I told myself, but because I wanted to better understand the man I was falling in love with. I started with social media. His Instagram profile had only 23 photos, all posted in the last 6 months. No old photos, no history before March. As if he had created a digital life from scratch. The photos were generic, food plates, sunsets, some selfies in public places. No photos with friends, family, or at home, and something stranger, he only followed 15 people, all profiles of tech companies or news pages. On LinkedIn, the situation was similar. Impeccable professional profile, but no personal connections. recommendations from clients, but none from co-workers or former company employees. I tried searching for Marcus plus programmer plus digital security in various combinations on Google. Nothing. No articles, no lectures, no conference participation. For someone who supposedly was a renowned specialist in the field, he had zero professional online presence. That's when I decided to do something I'm not proud of. I followed Marcus. The following Thursday, when he said he was going to work from home all day, I took my car and went to the address I got through a credit check search. I had his SSN from a dinner where we split the bill. The address led me to a strange street. Maple Street, number 847. A dead-end street in the industrial district. Far. From everything. Old houses, some abandoned, lots of space between buildings. Marcus's house was the last one on the street. 1970s construction, 2 floors, completely abandoned garden with tall grass and unpruned bushes for months. Peeling paint, some loose tiles on the roof. It didn't look like the house of someone who earned well as an international freelancer. All windows had heavy curtains, impossible to see inside. It looked more like an abandoned house than a residence. Parked 3 houses away and watched. It was 2:30 p.m. when Marcus's car, a black Civic, entered the garage. He got out, looked around suspiciously several times, and entered through the side door of the house. I stayed there for 2 hours. No visible movement, no lights on. Total silence. At 5 p.m, a black van with no identification stopped in front of the house. 2 men got out. One was tall and thin, the other short and stocky, both wearing dark clothes and caps that hid their faces. They opened the back of the van and removed a large metal box. Very large. The size of a person. The box seemed heavy. They needed considerable effort to carry it to the house door. Marcus received them and helped carry the box inside. 40 minutes later, the men came out, without the box. Marcus accompanied them to the van, and I saw something that made my blood run cold. He handed a thick envelope to the tall man. Money. A lot of money. That night, Marcus texted me, "Hey, love. Tough work day. Terrible headache. Going to sleep early. Today. See you tomorrow." I replied that it was okay, but inside I was terrified. What was in that box? I couldn't sleep that night. I stayed on the internet until 4 a.m. researching Maple Street House. What I discovered made me even more scared. The property originally belonged to a man named Robert Silver, who died 3 years ago at age 67. Cause of death, sudden heart attack at home. But Robert Silver wasn't an ordinary person. He had an extensive criminal record, 2 convictions for kidnapping, 1 for human trafficking, suspect in at least 5 murder cases that were never solved. The house had been the scene of multiple police investigations in the 90s and 2000s. They discovered a hidden basement with strange equipment, but never found enough evidence for a murder conviction. After Robert's death, the house went into legal dispute among supposed heirs. Officially, it had been unoccupied for 3 years, awaiting legal resolution. How was Marcus living there? I searched for more information about Robert Silver. I found old reports from local newspapers. One caught my attention. Neighbours report strange odours coming from suspicious house. The report was from 1998. Neighbours on Maple Street complained about strong, nauseating smells coming from house 847 during the early morning hours. Police investigated, but Robert claimed he was doing chemical experiments for a pesticide company. They never proved it was a lie. But now, 25 years later, Marcus was living in the same house and receiving suspicious deliveries from suspicious men. My mind started connecting dots I didn't want to connect: the criminal history of the house, the mysterious deliveries, Marcus's strange behaviour, his extensive knowledge about crimes. What if Marcus wasn't just living in a house with a dark past? What if he was continuing that dark legacy? The next few days, I started observing Marcus with different eyes. And the more I observed, the more strange details I noticed. His hands, for example. Always impeccably clean, but with small cuts and scratches he attributed to home maintenance work. For someone supposedly renovating, he never had dust on his clothes, paint on his nails, or sweat from physical work. He also developed the habit of obsessively checking his phone. Every few minutes he'd look at the screen, even when he was with me. When I asked about it, he said he was monitoring client systems. I work with digital security, Sarah. If a system goes down, I need to know immediately. But I started noticing he checked his phone more intensely after certain conversations, especially when we talked about our relationship, about the future, about getting to know each other better. One night at the restaurant, he left his phone on the table when he went to the bathroom. The screen lit up with a notification. I couldn't read the complete message, but I saw the beginning. Next delivery confirmed for... When he came back, I commented, "You get a lot of work messages at night." "Yeah, international clients," he replied, quickly putting the phone away. Time zone difference is complicated, but the message didn't seem professional, and the word delivery gave me chills. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I was going to find out what Marcus was really hiding, and I was going to do it soon. It was the following week that my world turned upside down. I was watching the evening news when I saw the report that changed everything. Young woman missing for a week. Family offers reward for information. The photo on the screen made me choke on my coffee. It was Emma Rodriguez, 23 years old, veterinary medicine student. Disappeared the previous Tuesday when leaving college, last seen getting into a black car in the university parking lot. I knew that face. I had seen a photo of Emma on Marcus's Instagram a few weeks ago. When I asked who she was, he said, "Distant cousin, mum's family, don't have much contact." But now she was missing. And the date of disappearance coincided exactly with the day I saw the black van at Marcus's house. The day of the large box. My mind went into panic mode. I started connecting information frantically. Emma disappears on a Tuesday. On Wednesday, I see a van taking a large box to Marcus's house. Marcus pays money to the van. Men Emma was on his Instagram. The house has a history of crimes, but I still didn't want to believe it. There was still a part of me looking for innocent explanations. Maybe they were just terrible coincidences. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe Marcus could explain everything. I was wrong. So terribly, devastatingly wrong. I spent the next 2 days researching Emma Rodriguez's disappearance. The police had no leads, no witnesses except the vague description of a black car. No physical evidence. It was like she had simply vanished into thin air, just like the other women whose names I would soon discover in Marcus's journal. Over the following days, Marcus's behaviour became even more erratic. He started cancelling dates at the last minute, always with vague excuses about urgent work issues. When we did meet, he seemed distracted, constantly checking his phone, looking over his shoulder as if expecting to be followed. "Everything okay?" I asked during one of our dinners. "Yeah, just stressful period at work. Big client having security issues." But his explanations were becoming more elaborate and less believable. He talked about cyber attacks, international hackers, emergency protocols that required his immediate attention at all hours. The cash payments continued. In fact, they increased. He started paying for more expensive restaurants, buying more elaborate gifts, as if money was no object. "Business is good," he said when I commented on his generosity, finally landing some high-paying contracts. But something in his eyes told a different story. There was a darkness there that hadn't been present in our early dates, a coldness that would surface during unguarded moments. And then there were the dreams. Marcus started mentioning having vivid dreams, sometimes waking up in the middle of the night. He'd make casual comments about weird dreams or restless nights. "Maybe you should see a doctor," I suggested once. Sleep problems can be serious. His reaction was sharp, almost aggressive. "I don't need a doctor, Sarah. It's just stress. It'll pass." It was the first time he had ever raised his voice at me. That night, I went home with a sick feeling in my stomach. Something was very, very wrong. The breaking point came when I was researching Emma Rodriguez's case online and stumbled upon something that made my blood freeze. Emma wasn't the first. In the past 18 months, 4 other young women had disappeared in similar circumstances in our city and neighbouring areas. Jessica Chen, 24, disappeared 6 months ago. Last seen leaving work. No trace found. Mia Thompson, 22, vanished 4 months ago after a dinner date. Her car found abandoned. Ashley Brooks, 25, missing 3 months ago. Left her apartment and never returned. Rachel Davis, 23, disappeared 2 months ago from a shopping mall parking lot. All young, attractive women between 22-25. All disappeared without a trace. All cases unsolved. And when I looked at the dates, they aligned perfectly with Marcus's strange behaviour patterns, his mysterious work schedules, and his cash flow increases. But the real shock came when I found something else. On a local missing persons forum, I discovered that someone had been asking questions about these women, specific questions about their routines, their habits, their social media activity. The username was MarcusD847, the same number as his house address. My hands were shaking as I read through the forum posts. This person was gathering detailed information about these women weeks before they disappeared, learning their schedules, their favourite places, their vulnerabilities. He was hunting them, studying them, and then making them disappear. I realised with growing horror that I had been dating a serial killer, and based on his recent behaviour, I was probably his next target. I arranged to meet Marcus at our favourite cafe. I needed to know the truth, but I wanted to be in a public, safe place. He arrived 15 minutes late, unusual for him. He seemed nervous, constantly looking around, as if expecting to be followed. "Everything okay, honey?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Yes, just work, difficult week." I waited for him to order coffee and settle in before starting. "Marcus, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with me." He smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "Of course. Sarah. Anything. Do you know a girl named Emma Rodriguez?" The change in his expression was instant and dramatic. The blood literally drained from his face. His hands, which were on the table, started trembling almost imperceptibly. "No, I don't know any Emma. Are you sure? Because I saw a photo of her on your Instagram a few weeks ago. You said she was a cousin." Now he was visibly nervous, sweating, his eyes moving rapidly, looking for exits. "Sarah, why these questions? What's happening?" "She disappeared, Marcus, a week ago, and I think you know something about it." He was silent for long seconds. I could see his brain working, calculating, planning. "Sarah," he said finally, his voice low and controlled. "You don't understand the situation? Then explain it to me." "I can't. Not here. Not now." He stood up abruptly, knocking over the coffee cup. "Marcus, wait. No. Sarah, you've messed with things you shouldn't have messed with. This is dangerous. For you. Are you threatening me?" He stopped, looked directly into my eyes, and said something that chilled me to the bone. "I'm trying to protect you. But if you keep digging, I won't be able to do that much longer." And he ran out of the cafe. That was the last normal conversation we ever had. Everything that happened next was a nightmare. I spent 2 days without any news from Marcus. No messages, no calls, as if he had disappeared from the face of the earth. Knew I should go to the police. I had enough evidence for at least an investigation. The coincidence of dates, the suspicious house, the strange behaviour, the mysterious deliveries. But part of me still loved Marcus. Still wanted to believe there was an explanation. It was Thursday at 11:47 p.m. that I received the message that would change everything. "Sarah, sorry for everything. You were right about a lot of things. I need to explain to you personally. It's complicated, but you deserve to know the truth. Come to my house tomorrow at 8 p.m. Maple Street 847, it's important. I love you." My heart raced. Was he going to confess, or was it a trap? I spent the entire night awake thinking. In the morning, I made a decision. I would go, but I would take precautions. I told everything to my best friend Julia. I showed her the messages, explained my suspicions, gave her the house address.
She was horrified. "Sarah, don't go. For God's sake, call the police. I need to know the truth, Julia. I need to hear it from his mouth. What if it's a trap? That's why I'm giving you my location. If I don't text by midnight, call the police."
And go straight to Maple Street, 8:47. I bought pepper spray. I set my phone to record automatically. I told 2 other friends where I would be. At 7:30 p.m, I was in the car, driving to the industrial district. The day was cloudy, with rain forecast. The streets were more deserted than usual. When I arrived at Maple Street, it was 7:55 p.m, 5 minutes before the scheduled time. It was exactly when I got out of the car that my phone vibrated. A message from Marcus. "Don't come." 2 words that made my blood freeze, but I was already there, and the door was slightly open. I stood in the street, looking at that message. "Don't come." 2 words that made my blood freeze. Why? Why did he change his mind? Why did he call me there only to tell me not to come? I looked at the house. It was completely dark. No lights on, no visible movement, no sound. Marcus's car wasn't in the garage. I should have left, should have started the car and gotten out of there as fast as possible. But something pulled me toward that house. Maybe it was morbid curiosity. Maybe it was the desperate need to find answers. Or maybe it was something darker, a self-destructive compulsion. I walked slowly toward the front door. Each step echoed in the silence of the deserted street. My heart was beating so hard it seemed like everyone could hear it. The front door was ajar, just a few centimetres, but enough to see it wasn't locked. "Marcus?" I called softly. Absolute silence. I pushed the door lightly, and it opened with a low creak that seemed to echo through the entire house. The smell hit me immediately, a sweet and nauseating smell with a metallic undertone, the smell of decomposition mixed with cleaning products. I entered. The living room was in complete darkness, but the weak streetlight entered through the open door, creating long and distorted shadows that seemed to move. My eyes gradually adjusted to the darkness, and I began to distinguish shapes. There was furniture covered with sheets, as if the house had been abandoned for years. But on the floor, near the covered sofa, there was a dark stain, very dark and large. Next to the stain, clothes. Women's clothes scattered chaotically. A blue blouse that I recognised from Emma's photos in the newspaper. But it wasn't just Emma's clothes. There were several different pieces. Blouses, pants, shoes, accessories. All feminine. All from different women. With my hands shaking, I took out my phone and turned on the flashlight. What I saw made me gag and stumble backward. The stain on the floor wasn't just dark. It was blood. A lot of blood, already dried and dark, but unmistakable. And the clothes. They weren't just from Emma. There were several different pieces. Blouses, pants, shoes, accessories. All feminine. All from different women. On the coffee table, partially covered by a cloth, there was something that made my world collapse. Photographs. Dozens of photographs scattered around, different women. All young, between 20 and 30 years old. All beautiful. And all dead. Before and after. Photos. Photos of them alive, smiling, unsuspecting. And photos of them after. After Marcus finished with them. In the middle of the photos, an open notebook. Careful, organised handwriting. Names, dates, methods, locations. A meticulous record of murders. Jessica, January 15th. Strangulation, basement. Mia, March 3rd. Induced overdose, master bedroom. Ashley, April 22nd. Drowning, bathtub. Rachel, June 8th. Blunt force trauma, kitchen. Emma, September 18th. Cutting wound, living room. And on the last page, an entry that made my heart stop. Sarah, September 25th, today. To be determined. Living room, today. He had planned to kill me today. That's when I heard the sound that confirmed my worst fears, slow footsteps on the stairs, coming down toward the living room. I told you not to come, Sarah. Marcus's voice, but different. Cold, emotionless, as if talking about the weather. I turned slowly. He was standing at the bottom of the stairs, silhouetted against the darkness of the second floor. In his hands, something that gleamed in the little available light. A knife. Large, very sharp. "Why didn't you listen to my advice?" he asked, coming down a few more steps. "It would have been much easier for both of us." "Marcus." My voice came out as a hoarse whisper. "Why?" He continued down the stairs, slowly, savouring the fear in my eyes. "Because this is what I am, Sarah. This is what I've always been. You thought you knew me, but you never really saw me. The other women, all the same as you, smart, beautiful, confident. They all thought they could fix me, understand me. They all discovered the truth too late." He reached the bottom of the stairs, now just a few meters from me. Emma was especially interesting. She fought a lot, more than the others. My right hand was in my pocket, holding the pepper spray. My mind was calculating distances, escape routes. You know what's funniest, Sarah? I really liked you, more than the others. That's why I warned you not to come. I wanted to give you a chance. "You can still give me one," I said, trying to buy time. "We can get out of here, talk, work this out." He laughed. A cold sound without humour. "No, Sarah, you've seen too much, you know too much, and besides..." He raised the knife, examining the blade. "I was starting to get bored with you anyway, always questioning, always suspicious. You couldn't just accept what I showed you." It was at that moment that I acted. I pulled out the pepper spray and sprayed it directly in his face. Marcus screamed, dropping the knife and bringing his hands to his eyes. I ran like I had never run in my life, straight to the door. I heard Marcus screaming behind me, stumbling over furniture, cursing and threatening. I reached the car, locked the doors and started the engine with my hands shaking violently. I grabbed my phone and called the police while accelerating. I need to report multiple homicides. "Maple Street, 847. The killer is there now." The police arrived 20 minutes later. When they arrived, the house was empty, completely empty. There were no photos. There was no notebook. There were no scattered clothes. There was no bloodstain. On the floor, as if nothing had ever existed. "Are you sure of the address, Ma'am?" asked the investigator. "This house has been officially unoccupied for 3 years. But I saw it. I saw everything." The investigations continued for weeks. They found evidence that someone had been in the house recently. Footprints, some hair, DNA fragments. But nothing conclusive. Marcus simply disappeared. His official apartment had been empty for months. His bank accounts closed. His documents all fake. Emma Rodriguez was never found, neither alive nor dead. And the other women from the notebook. I researched each name. All disappeared in the last 2 years, in different cities. No solved cases. This is my story. My truth. I know some of you will doubt it. You'll say it's impossible, that it's fictional, that it doesn't make sense. But I know what I saw. I know who Marcus really was, and I know he's still out there, hunting, choosing his next victim. If you're watching this, Marcus, and I know you are, know that I won't stop looking for you. I will find you, and I will make sure. You pay for Emma, for Jessica, for Mia, for Ashley, for Rachel, and for all the others, and for you who are watching. Pay attention to the signs. They're always there. The person you think you know might be completely different inside. Trust your instincts. If something seems wrong, it probably is. Your life might depend on it. Thank you for watching. If you have information about Marcus or anyone with similar behaviour, contact your local authorities. And remember, he could be closer than you imagine.